But I asked Cabinet Minister and Defence spokesman Kahelia Rambukwela if he thought Colonel Karuna's party is responsible for abductions and killings.
I don't accept that it is being conducted by Karuna. But there have been certain incidents that is taking place. Obviously, for 25 years there have been terror, gun culture. And within a couple of, 2-3 months it will not be tickety-boo or come back to normal.
I mean, we've met people who say their loved ones have been abducted by the TMVP, and they say that the police haven't entertained their complaints.
I don't think that is true. All these complaints that are made, being investigated, we will prosecute if there are cases and if we can prove legally.
But there are also allegations that the government forces are turning a blind eye.
No, we just reject that allegation. Totally reject.
Human Rights Watch and other organisations appealed to the Sri Lankan government to prosecute Colonel Karuna Amman for human rights abuses, and yet the government appointed him as a member of parliament. And how does that reflect on the government?
The terrorists are willing to accept that there are mistakes. They are willing to give up terror. They are willing to give up violence. Why not give a chance to Karuna? You need to look at it comparatively. We are heading for total democracy and total development and peace. But it's not there yet. I hope that tomorrow will be a happier day, minus of all these things. And we can really look forward to that.
But while the government defence spokesman Kahelia Rambukwela believes Sri Lanka is on the way to a better tomorrow, R. Sampanthan of the Tamil National Alliance, the biggest Tamil party in Parliament, does not share his optimism.
A government which claims to be legitimately responsible for governance in this country cannot be seen to be aiding and assisting a paramilitary group which is guilty of such violations. Where people are being abducted, people's properties are being forcibly taken over, people are being killed, and the TMVP is accused of being responsible. And what is most frightening is that the people who are in this situation know that the government will never intercede on their behalf, that they cannot depend upon the government or the law enforcement agencies to give them any protection whatever. Despite the extremely large number of abductions and extrajudicial killings, not one offender has been brought to justice over the past more than 2 years. So people have no alternative but to keep their mouth shut and live in fear.
I mean, the Tamil Tigers, too, the LTTE, have carried out many human rights abuses.
Well, yes, the LTTE too have been guilty of human rights violations. It is not something which can be denied. But the LTTE claims to, and many Tamil people do think that the LTTE carries on a struggle against the government which has not recognized the Tamil demand for autonomy and self-rule. But that does not mean that the LTTE is entitled to violate human rights. The most important thing to remember is this is a charade to create the impression that there is a legitimate provincial body governing the East, but the reality is that it is not so, and that it's a downright sham. And it is my view that the Eastern Provincial Council is not a legitimate body. It's not a body that can claim to have been established legally or been elected legally. Tamil people remain firmly committed that they must have self-rule. If the government thinks that by claiming to liberate the people, that these people can be subjugated in this way, the government is making a serious mistake. And the government would have to pay for what would be the inevitable consequences of its present actions.
Tamil politician R. Sampanthan clearly believes that the TMVP and the provincial council system as a whole are not the answer to Sri Lanka's decades-long ethnic conflict. However, in the eyes of the government, his Tamil National Alliance is simply a political proxy of the Tigers. I went to see Father Harry Miller, a Jesuit priest from New Orleans who spent 60 years in Batticaloa teaching. He's witnessed the ebb and flow of the war and the provincial elections that came after the government captured the East.
None of these people who are controlling us, including the police, and especially the politicians, have been chosen by the people of Batticaloa. And they've done nothing for Batticaloa. What little degree of self-governance we had left, we've been robbed of now. And they've handed it over to people whom we did not choose. The TMVP, they have no place with us.
They were elected, though.
Yeah. Many of the people didn't even go to vote, but the ballot boxes were filled. Voting here is a joke. We are ruled by the henchmen of whatever power is next in line up the line. Ultimately, it's the president. President who has enrolled Karana's people into government and given a seat in Parliament to Karana himself. I mean, it's just a hopeless mess. There is no one to whom you can go to make an appeal about anything.
So how widespread do you think human rights abuses are?
Fairly widespread, but nobody's making lists. So we don't really know. Most people would be deadly afraid to talk about what's happening here. Almost every day something is going to happen that should not happen because somebody else has the power to do what they want to do.
And the government makes quite a noise about the fact, they say, that the Eastern Province has been liberated.
Liberated? People of Barraclough have not been liberated. They've been intimidated.
But the government's all-out fight to win the war, perhaps at any cost, is widely popular among the Sinhalese, who make up around 3/4 of the population. Sri Lanka's government says it's on the verge of inflicting a crushing final defeat on the Tamil Tigers. It says it will be magnanimous in victory, and democracy in areas taken from the rebels so far is a work in progress. But the government's human rights record during the war and the TMVP's unsavoury activities in the East will not have helped build much-needed trust among the Tamil minority. Sunila Abesekara, the human rights activist, believes instead of bringing about a lasting peace, the government may only be seeding the next cycle of violence.
This is not bloodshed that is going to buy us peace and democracy. It is bloodshed that is just affirming the denial of democracy. And the big challenge is to try to rebuild a space where people can talk about living together. And we don't see a shadow of that.